Cheating wife opened marriage at anniversary. Got STD pregnant, husband gets full revenge on her. I knew something was wrong the moment she walked into the room. Her lipstick was crimson, loud, unapologetic. Mary never wore lipstick that bold. Not in 15 years of marriage, not even back when we were young and reckless. She used to laugh at women who painted their mouths like that, saying it made them look like they were trying too hard. But that night, the color gleamed on her lips as if it had been waiting all along, hiding in the shadows of her vanity. It wasn't her. It was someone else's choice bleeding across her mouth. And maybe that was the first betrayal, before the bigger one, before the words that would slice through my chest in front of everyone we loved. We were at my sister's farmhouse, a place that had always felt like safe ground. Emma's house smelled of roasted chicken and cinnamon, the kind of warmth that usually calmed me after long weeks of work. She'd wanted to host our 15th wedding anniversary. "Make it special," she'd said. "Bring the whole family together." But family can be a cruel audience. The oak table stretched the length of the room, dressed with cornbread, mashed potatoes, carrots glazed in honey. The lanterns hanging above cast a soft light that should have made everything tender, but instead it made the shadows longer, sharper. Mary brushed past me, her perfume sharp, almost bitter compared to the soft floral she used to wear. She smiled, wide and perfect, flashing teeth like pearls, a smile that didn't belong to me anymore. I tried to remind myself of who she used to be. The woman who once fell asleep with her head on my chest as we watched movies. The woman who used to hum while folding laundry. The woman who laughed so hard she snorted when Ethan, our only son, stuck spaghetti noodles up his nose at dinner. But that woman wasn't here anymore. And if you're listening now, before I tell you what happened, make sure you like this video and subscribe, because this isn't just a story about betrayal. It's about how love curdles into humiliation, how a family dinner can become a battlefield, and how sometimes revenge isn't fire or fury, it's silence, it's walking away. Eleanor, my mother-in-law, sat like a queen at Mary's side. She swirled her Chardonnay, eyes darting to me with that same old disdain. She'd never hidden her dislike. In her mind, I was too stiff, too serious, too focused on work. She always told Mary she could have done better. "Sometimes," Eleanor announced, her voice loud enough to hush the room, "a woman needs to shake things up before her spirit withers away. Don't let a man cage you, sweetheart." Her words hung there, heavy and deliberate. My fork hovered mid-air. Mary's lips twitched. She didn't say thank you, didn't dismiss her mother's remark either. She just let the silence confirm it. I forced a laugh, though it scratched my throat raw. Mary's free to do whatever she wants. She always has been. Emma shifted in her chair, glancing between us nervously. My father cleared his throat and reached for the salt, pretending not to hear. Claire, Mary's younger sister, leaned back with a smirk. She'd always been the instigator, poking at wounds just to see how deep they went. "Is that why you two never had another kid? Too busy chasing your own lives?" The jab hit hard. Ethan, 19 now, off at college, was the center of our world for so long. But once he left, the house grew too quiet, like the walls themselves sighed. And in that quiet, I started noticing how Mary lingered on her phone, how she went out with friends, but never named them, how she began sleeping facing the wall. I wanted to defend myself, to defend us, but my tongue felt heavy, tied down by years of missed conversations, missed moments. Dinner crawled on. The clink of silverware sounded like gunshots in the silence. My mother asked polite questions about Claire's job. Emma tried to make jokes, but the tension never eased. Then Mary stood. Her wine glass caught the lantern light, crimson lips curving into something I couldn't read. Triumph, maybe? Or cruelty? "I have an announcement," she said. Forks froze. My mother's hand stilled on her lap. Emma looked up, brows knitted. Mary's eyes locked onto mine, hard, cold, determined. For years, I've felt trapped, underappreciated, ignored. She gestured toward me with a casual flick of her hand, like I was a mistake she was correcting. Thomas doesn't fulfill me anymore. Not emotionally, not physically. The words detonated. I felt the air leave my lungs. My mother gasped, color draining from her face. My father lowered his eyes, shame pulling his shoulders down. And Mary, my wife, lifted her chin higher. So I've made a decision. I want an open marriage. I'm not divorcing him, but I need freedom. Freedom to see other men. Freedom to live. She let the silence stretch, her words a dagger she twisted slowly. I deserve that much after everything I've endured. The room collapsed into quiet. Even the lanterns seemed to dim. Eleanor's lips curved into a proud smile. That's my girl, brave enough to speak her truth. My pulse thundered in my ears. I looked at her, this woman I'd spent half my life with, and I didn't recognize her. This is how you celebrate our anniversary? I whispered, my voice trembling. By humiliating me in front of our families? Mary's crimson lips curved into something sharp. I waited long enough for you to see me. Since you wouldn't, I'm showing everyone the truth. Something inside me cracked. I stood so quickly my chair screeched against the wooden floor. The sound was violent, final. You wanted a scene, Mary? I said, my voice rising despite the tightness in my chest. Congratulations. You've got it. Her eyes glistened, not with regret, but with triumph. She wanted this. She wanted to rip me apart in front of them all. Don't act like the victim, Thomas, she said coolly. You neglected me for years. I deserve attention. Neglected. That word pierced deeper than any blade. I had worked late, yes. Missed dinners, yes. But it had been for her, for us, for Ethan. To keep a roof over our heads, to pay for college, to give her the comfort her mother always claimed I denied. I scanned the table. My mother's horrified expression, Emma's pity, Eleanor's smug pride, Claire's smirk. They were all watching me bleed. My fists clenched. My throat burned. But I swallowed it down, every ounce of it. Enjoy your openness, I spat, because I'm done. I grabbed my jacket and walked out of the farmhouse, out of the warmth, into the cold autumn night. The stars were sharp above me, and the air burned my lungs as I breathed. 15 years of marriage unraveled in 15 minutes. And the worst part? She looked proud of it. I didn't go home. I drove until the roads blurred, until the lights of town gave way to black fields, stretching endlessly on both sides. Finally, I pulled into the gravel lot of an abandoned gas station and killed the engine. The silence was suffocating. I gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white, replaying every word, every smirk, every look of pity at that table. Was I really the villain she painted me to be? Had I failed so completely that she felt justified turning our anniversary into a stage for her freedom? My heart said no. My guilt whispered maybe. I thought of Ethan, how I'd explain this, how he'd choose between us, how his mother would twist the story to make me the cold, neglectful father who never loved enough. I laid my head back against the seat, staring at the cracked ceiling of the old station. My chest ached with rage and heartbreak. By sunrise, my decision was made. I couldn't stay married to a woman who had announced to the world that I wasn't enough, who had demanded the right to humiliate me, to replace me, to live freely while keeping me chained. Divorce wasn't just an option, it was survival. I didn't go home for 3 days. Instead, I slept in my car, in random parking lots where no one knew me. The seatbelt buckle dug into my ribs each time I turned. but it was still better than lying beside the woman who had gutted me in public. On the fourth morning, I walked into Jacob's office. He was an old college friend, now a lawyer with graying temples and eyes that carried too much of other people's sadness. "Divorce," I said, my voice flat. "I'm filing." He leaned back, sighing. "Thomas, maybe wait until tempers cool. What she did was ugly, but—" "Ugly?" I barked a laugh that didn't sound like mine. She stood up at my anniversary dinner and announced she wanted other men. In front of my parents. In front of hers? How do you come back from that? Jacob pinched the bridge of his nose. Fair point. All right, let's start the paperwork. You'll need to think about assets, house, savings accounts. Custody isn't an issue since Ethan's grown, but you should prepare for her to fight dirty. Let her, I muttered. She can't humiliate me more than she already has. I was wrong. She could. By the time the first papers were filed, Mary had transformed her life into a stage. Photos of her at bars started popping up on social media, her arms slung around men with hungry eyes, wine glasses clinking, her laugh wide and wild. She'd never cared for posting online before. Now she posted constantly, as if she wanted to make sure I couldn't look away. Friends sent me screenshots. Neighbors whispered. At church, I felt the weight of pitying stares. Living her best life, Eleanor bragged in the supermarket aisle. Finally free from that cold, boring husband who never gave her what she deserved. My jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. At night, alone in my townhouse, I scrolled through the images until rage hollowed me out. She was trying to rewrite the narrative. In her story, she wasn't a wife who'd humiliated her husband. She was a woman who had bravely claimed her freedom from a loveless marriage. And in her version, I was the villain. Ethan called one night. His voice sounded older than 19. "Dad," he said, "Mom told me you're divorcing her because she wanted to expand your horizons. She says you left because you couldn't handle it." I gripped the phone tighter. "Ethan, listen to me. Your mother blindsided me. She wanted an open marriage. I had no say in it. She humiliated me in front of everyone." There was a pause. She never told me it happened like that. "She's spinning her story," I said, my chest tight. "Don't let her put you in the middle." "I'm not trying to take sides, Dad. I don't know who to believe." Those words carved me deeper than anything Mary had said. My son, my boy who I'd raised, who I'd sacrificed for, wasn't sure if he could trust me. "I know you love her," I said softly. "She's your mom, but she's not being honest. Please, just focus on school. Don't get dragged into this." "I'll try," Ethan whispered. His voice cracked at the edges. When we hung up, I sat in the dark for hours, the silence pressing like a weight. Divorce wasn't just breaking me and Mary. It was breaking him, too. One afternoon, I returned to the house to grab some clothes. Eleanor stood in the kitchen like she owned it, arms folded, glare sharp enough to cut. Mary leaned against the counter, her nails drumming against the wood. "Well, look who decided to crawl back," Eleanor sneered. Mary crossed her arms. "You're done sulking?" "Sulking?" I repeated, ice in my tone. "I'm filing for divorce." She scoffed. "Over a little request for freedom. Grow up, Thomas." My voice was steady, but my hands shook. "You call it freedom. I call it betrayal." Eleanor's smile was cruel. "She was honest with you. Most men would be grateful for the chance to keep their wife instead of losing her." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "Grateful? For being humiliated in front of my family? For being told I'm not enough?" Mary's eyes narrowed. "You think you can just walk away from this without consequences?" "What are you going to do, Mary? Post more pictures?" Tell more lies? Her lips curved. Maybe I'll do more than that. I grabbed my duffel and stormed out, but her words clung like thorns. Days blurred. The legal process dragged on. Mary demanded half the house, half my savings, even spousal support. Jacob shook his head. She's playing victim, painting herself as the neglected wife forced to take drastic steps. She chose to humiliate me, I growled. She'll spin it as desperation. I clenched my fists. Let her. I'm not giving her everything I worked for. But deep down, I knew this wouldn't just be about money. It was about pride. It was about who the world believed. A week later, Mary showed up outside my townhouse with Eleanor by her side. She shoved papers against my chest. Sign these, she demanded. I scanned them. She wanted half the house, half the savings, monthly support. You're out of your mind, I said. You forced me into a dead marriage, she shot back. Now I need a new life. Mom says I deserve compensation. I barked a humorless laugh. You want to sleep around and have me foot the bill? Dream on. Eleanor's voice sharpened. If you don't sign, we'll drag you through court. Everyone will know what a selfish, cruel man you are. I handed the papers back. See you in court. Mary's eyes flashed with fury. You'll regret this. Maybe. But I wasn't going to let them strip me of everything while calling it justice. As I closed the door behind them, my heart pounded with equal parts rage and clarity. This wasn't just about ending a marriage anymore. It was a war for my dignity, and I intended to fight. I used to think betrayal came like a lightning strike, sudden, violent, leaving everything scorched. But I learned it's slower than that. Betrayal drips. It seeps. It stains the edges of your life until you can't remember where the first mark began. By mid-autumn, the divorce process was grinding forward. Jacob filed motion after motion, but Mary kept stalling, kept complicating. She wanted more money, more property, more of my life than she'd ever cared to touch while we were together. And then, just when I thought she'd run out of ways to twist the knife, she knocked on my door. It was late. My townhouse was dim, only the kitchen light burning. She stood there in the doorway, pale, her red lipstick gone, her hair unkempt. For the first time in months, she looked small, human. "Thomas," she whispered, "I need help." I crossed my arms. "With what?" She shifted, eyes darting to the ground. "Medical bills. Insurance doesn't cover everything." "What kind of bills?" Her throat worked. "A treatment. It's personal." The word lodged like a splinter. Behind her, Eleanor loomed as sharp as ever. "If you'd been a real husband, she wouldn't be in this position. You owe her." I almost laughed. "I owe her? After everything?" Mary's eyes filled with tears. "Please, Thomas, just this once. Don't make me beg." For a moment, I wavered. I thought of Ethan, of the woman she once was, the woman who dripped peach juice on our kitchen tiles. But then I saw lantern light again, saw her smile as she told the world I wasn't enough. "I'm not your husband anymore," I said coldly. "Ask one of the men in your pictures." Her lips parted, trembling. She turned before the tears could fall. Eleanor's glare burned into me as they walked down the path. The door clicked shut, but guilt lingered. 2 days later, my phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her voice was tight, desperate. "Thomas, I need to see you. It's important." "No," I said flatly. "This is different. Please." I should have hung up. Instead, I sighed. "Say it." "I'm pregnant." The mug slipped from my hand. Coffee splattered across the counter, brown trails running like veins across the wood. "What?" "I'm pregnant," she repeated. "It could be yours." My chest hollowed out. "No, that's impossible." "It's not. We were together before the separation. You don't remember." "I do. It could have happened then." I remembered silence. I remembered her back turned to me in bed. I remembered long hours at the office, nights when we barely spoke. But that last intimacy she described, I couldn't even recall if it was real or something she'd stitched together to suit her story. Still, my voice was firm. "I can't be the father." "You can. You are." I closed my eyes, summoning a truth I had never told her. "No, Mary. I had a vasectomy. Years ago." Silence. Long and jagged. "You're lying," she whispered. "I'm not. After Ethan, we agreed our family was complete. I went through with it." "You never told me." Her voice broke, half accusation, half grief. "You never asked." A sound left her lips, half laugh, half sob. "Convenient. Very convenient, Thomas." "What's convenient," I snapped, "is trying to chain me to you with a baby that isn't mine." Her breath hitched. Then she hung up. I stood in the kitchen, coffee dripping from the counter, my hand still frozen around the receiver. My secret, once quiet, had become a weapon. Ethan called the next night. His voice was shaky. "Dad, Mom says she's pregnant." "I know," I said. "She says it might be yours." "It's not." The words flew out too fast, too harsh. "It can't be." A pause. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Absolutely sure." He hesitated. She sounded so certain. I don't know who to believe. My chest ached. "Ethan, listen to me. I love you. But your mother is lying. She's trying to drag me back. Don't let her." "I don't want to take sides," he whispered. I hate all of this." "So do I said softly. When we hung up, I sat in the dark, the word pregnant echoing until it felt like a curse. Weeks later, the summons came. Mary had filed for paternity testing. Jacob slammed the folder shut on his desk. "She's pushing this all the way." "She'll lose," I said. "She'll humiliate herself trying." But the truth was, I wasn't as calm as I sounded. Court meant more gossip, more whispers, more pity, more eyes watching me bleed. The day of the hearing, Mary arrived in a sleek black dress, Eleanor trailing behind like a shadow. Her testimony was polished. Years of neglect, a desperate wife forced into freedom, a last fragile intimacy before the marriage collapsed. She wept into a tissue Eleanor handed her. Jacob simply slid the medical records across the table. The judge scanned them, then ordered the test anyway. 3 weeks later, the results came back. 0% probability of paternity. Mary's face went pale, lips trembling. Eleanor hissed under her breath, her fury a sharp blade in the quiet courtroom. Vindication should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like ashes. Because while the papers cleared my name, the damage was already done. Ethan was still torn. Neighbors still whispered. And Mary, whether out of madness, desperation, or spite, was still the woman I had once loved, now unraveling before my eyes. And if you've ever been caught between compassion and survival, you'll understand this. I didn't celebrate when the results came in. I just exhaled. But tell me, what would you have done? Show mercy or let her sink? Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe, because the story wasn't over yet. Not by a long shot. I thought the courtroom would be the end. The test results had been clear. 0 probability of paternity. I walked out of that courthouse lighter than I'd felt in months, convinced the storm had finally passed. But storms don't disappear just because you've walked through the rain. Sometimes they follow you, lingering in the air like humidity you can't shake. 2 months later, Ethan called. His voice was strained, as though he'd aged 10 years overnight. "Dad," he said quietly. "Mom had the baby." I closed my eyes. 1,000 thoughts collided. Relief that it wasn't mine. Pity for the innocent life that had been born into chaos. Anger that she still hadn't told anyone who the father was. "She's not doing well," Ethan continued. "There were complications. They said it's because of some untreated infection. Grandma's been with her every day. Mom asked for you." My stomach turned. "She asked for me?" "Yes." I didn't want to go. Every part of me screamed to stay away. But I remembered Ethan's voice, tired, frayed. And against my better judgment, I drove to the hospital 2 towns over. Mary looked nothing like the woman who had once stood under lantern light, crimson lips declaring her freedom. She lay in the hospital bed, hair damp, skin pale, eyes ringed with exhaustion. The baby slept in a bassinet beside her, tiny fists curled tight. Eleanor sat in the corner like a guard dog, her eyes sharp and hostile the moment I walked in. Mary looked up, and for a heartbeat, I saw the girl I'd fallen in love with, the one who used to hum while washing dishes, who once kissed me under a July sky when fireworks painted the heavens. "Thomas," she whispered. Her voice was a thread, fragile and fraying. I stepped closer, but not too close. "Why am I here, Mary?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Because I don't know what to do. Because I messed up. Because—" She glanced at the bassinet. "He deserves better than this." Her honesty stunned me. For months, she'd been a fortress of lies, of defiance, of crimson smiles. But here, in the quiet hum of hospital machines, she was just a woman who had burned every bridge and didn't know how to rebuild. "You destroyed me," I said softly. "You destroyed us." She nodded, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I know, and I can't take it back." Eleanor straightened, her voice sharp as broken glass. "Don't let him lecture you now, Mary. He abandoned you. He could have stopped this." "Mom," Mary croaked, her voice weak but firm. "Please, not now." Eleanor froze, stunned by the rare defiance. Mary looked back at me. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I didn't know who else to call." I stared at the baby. Her baby. Not mine. Innocent. Untouched by the lies that birthed him. "What do you want from me, Mary?" Her lips trembled. "Maybe nothing. Maybe just to not feel so alone." For a moment, my chest ached. I remembered the nights we'd whispered dreams in the dark, the way she'd looked at me when we first brought Ethan home from the hospital. Once, we'd been everything to each other. But the woman in that bed wasn't the same, and I wasn't the same man who had loved her. "I can't fix this for you," I said finally. "I can't carry this anymore." Her tears came harder. "So this is it? After everything, you're really walking away?" I nodded. "Yes. This is it." Weeks later, word spread that Mary had left town with Eleanor and the baby. No one knew where. Some said she went to live with a cousin in Oklahoma. Others whispered she'd followed the baby's father, whoever he was. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. For the first time in years, my life was quiet. My townhouse was small, my routines simple. Coffee in the morning, work, sometimes fishing on weekends when Ethan came to visit. He still carried the scars. I could see it in his eyes, but little by little he began to relax again. We never spoke much about his mother. It was an unspoken rule. One evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, I sat on my porch and let the silence wash over me. And I realized something. Mary had always believed I'd be her prison guard, that I'd stay chained to her chaos out of duty, guilt, or fear. But I had chosen differently. I had walked away. If that was revenge, it wasn't loud or cruel. It wasn't shouting in a courtroom or dragging her name through the mud. It was quieter than that. Revenge was letting her live in the life she built while I finally stepped free. And that's how it ended. Or maybe how it began again. Because sometimes survival looks like revenge. Sometimes mercy is no mercy at all. So tell me, if it were you, would you have stayed or walked away? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if this story gripped you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for the next one. Because love didn't kill us. Pride did. And sometimes, the only way to win is to let go.